A new bill introduced aimed at reversing the rise of fentanyl overdose deaths nationwide and in our own community.
U.S. Senator Gillibrand says part of the legislation would declare the international trafficking of fentanyl a national emergency, placing more responsibility on government agencies and further holding drug traffickers accountable. Natalie Kutchko joins us with more. Natalie.
Teresa, Gillibrand says the focus here lies on preventing illicit drugs from crossing our borders, better identifying fentanyl suspicious related transactions, and increasing education of illegal drug flow. Today, we also heard from the parents of Paige Gibbons, the Pittsford teen who died of an accidental fentanyl overdose late last year. They share their support for the legislation as well as the renewed calls for change. The Fend Off Fentanyl Act, sponsored by Senator Gillibrand, is bringing the topic of fentanyl overdose deaths to the forefront.
Frankly, we need to do more to keep this dangerous drug out of the United States. So I'm pushing for a bipartisan bill that would allow government agencies to more effectively crack down on illegal drug trafficking by targeting the deadly flow at its source.
Gillibrand says the accountability would begin in Washington, requiring the president to sanction drug cartels and other groups engaged in international trafficking of fentanyl. Also for law enforcement to enforce sanctions violations with a hopeful lead to more prosecutions. Kate and Dave Gibbons of Pittsford lost their daughter Paige to an accidental fentanyl overdose in November of last year. She was 19.
That this will be just one of the positives that come out of losing our daughter. We're heartbroken every day, minute by minute, and that pain will never go away.
The Gibbons say what Paige thought was a Percocet pill turned out to be made completely of fentanyl, adding it was purchased by a seller on Instagram. Last week, a suspect was taken into custody in connection with Paige's death.
The next step for everyone else out there is to start looking into mental health, finding more resources, starting earlier, so that what happens in the lives of our children that make them seek out drugs as a solution can just be stopped in its place, and that we never get to that point where our children are out there buying drugs to deal with how they're feeling.
In 2022, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration seized nearly 380 million deadly doses of fentanyl, enough to supply a lethal dose for every American.
Paige's heartbreaking story echoes far too many stories across our country and across our state. This can happen to any of them.
So far this year, there have been 145 potential deaths related to overdose in Monroe County. That's according to the county's dashboard updated numbers. Gibbons says the family will continue to advocate with the goal of minimizing the stigma and highlighting available resources in our community. In studio, Natalie Kutchko, News 8.